This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a hopefully brief look at the 14 films that I watched during January 2026. These are going to range from 1-star ratings to 5-star ratings. About half the films were on disc, and the other half were on various streaming services. And I'll tell you which services they were on in case you want to see them. Let's check it out. I'm going to go from which films I rated the lowest to the highest. And let's begin with what I watched on disc in January 2026. I've talked about most of these already in other episodes, so I'm going to try to be brief. And I gave the first two films 2.5 stars each. And starting with Fire Maidens of Outer Space from 1956. I posted an entire episode about this film if you want to look at that. This is a very low budget sci-fi horror film. I like these types of films from the 50s and 60s, and this one pretty much falls right in the middle. I also gave 2.5 stars to Yongari, Monster from the Deep from 1967. This is a Korean take on the kaiju films, dubbed in English. The acting's pretty bland, the story's pretty absurd, but the special effects are loads of fun here. It's really the main reason to see this. If you like rubber-suited monsters, like Godzilla-type creatures, rampaging through papier-mâché buildings and lots of miniature rockets and tanks and cars, you're going to like this one. It gets pretty silly, especially at one point, but no spoilers here. I gave 3 stars to The Mask from 1994. The special effects in this film were quite impressive when it was released 30 years ago. They still stand up, I think, for the most part. It's a perfect vehicle for Jim Carrey, and I'm probably not the target audience for this film anymore. And I was rather distracted when he became this superhero type character and then would speak all these catchphrases directly into the camera. I'm not sure why they did that. But I did talk about this in a recent episode about what I picked up during the Arrow sale at Barnes & Noble. So you can see more details on that episode. And I gave 4 stars to Ms. 45 from 1981. This is another disc I discussed in that Arrow sale episode that I just posted. This is a low-budget, grungy exploitation film about a woman seeking revenge against predatory men in a very seedy New York City in the 80s. Director Abel Ferrara did a lot with a small budget of $70,000, and the lead actress is totally compelling and beautiful, and in real life quite tragic. I gave 4.5 stars to The House with Laughing Windows from 1976. This was also discussed in that recent Arrow sale pickup episode. This is an Italian film with giallo overtones about an art restorer who's working on this mural in this on this church in this old dilapidated Italian village. This relies a lot on atmosphere and this feeling of dread. It worked for me. I think if you like giallos, it'll probably work for you, even though it's probably not strictly a giallo, but your mileage may vary with this one, I think. And I gave 5 stars to Elle from 1953. I did a separate episode just on this film. It's the best thing I've seen in 2026 so far. It's only February, right? But it's another masterwork from director Luis Buñuel with his usual observations about obsession and sex and the church and the bourgeoisie, among many other themes. It's also one of his more accessible works, I think. Now, everything else I saw in January 2026 was through various streaming services, and these are all newer films, starting with a 1 star that I gave to Black Phone 2, which I watched on Peacock. It was a major disappointment because I liked the first film. I think I gave that one 4 stars. Nothing here really works. Bad performances, bad dialogue, a ridiculous plot. It's not scary, and the special effects that are supposed to be the big set pieces just come off as kind of unintentionally funny, I thought. I gave 2 stars to Wake Up Dead Man on Netflix. This is the third Knives Out film. I liked the first 2. This has a couple of good laughs, a good cast, but it's way too long, way too repetitive. Ultimately, I didn't really care who done it. And in fact, Mrs. the Kazdoy Closet bailed after an hour of this film. I gave 2.5 stars to the following 3 films, beginning with The Long Walk, which I watched on Stars. It's a pretty simple plot. I think it was better suited to be maybe part of an anthology or a short film. They did keep it visually interesting, especially considering about 90% of the film is a bunch of guys walking and their lives actually depend on them walking. The second one I gave 2.5 stars to is The Life of Chuck on Hulu. I really wanted to like this more than I did. I was invested in the film as it went along, and I also found the unusual structure of the film interesting, but ultimately by the end, I just felt underwhelmed when it was over. The third one I gave 2.5 stars to is Bone Lake on Netflix. This is another one of those horror films in which a normal couple ends up renting a vacation home with a very weird couple. Think of Speak No Evil, both versions of that, which are far superior to this film. It's watchable, but has some pretty lame dialogue, especially at the end. I think they was trying to be funny, maybe darkly funny. And there are some rather grisly moments too. The next 2 films got 3 stars from me, starting with A Desert. Watch that on Shudder. And you might consider this as sort of a mashup of a horror film, thriller, neo-noir. It's about a photographer who makes some really bad mistakes and becomes entangled with this reckless couple. At times it's quite suspenseful and unpredictable. Can be a bit slow though. And the second one I gave 3 stars to is Marshmallow, also on Shudder. And this is a horror film which is kind of a take on the summer camp slasher films. It's best to go into this one fresh. Don't read anything about it. And it takes some chances with storytelling and some visuals. I didn't quite buy the premise at the very end, but it's entertaining, and I think if you're a horror fan, it's worth a look. And finally, I gave 4.5 stars to Begonia, which was on Peacock. This was a big surprise for me since I did not like the director's last film, Poor Things. I think I gave that 2 stars. But I also recommend you go in fresh for this one. Don't read too much about it. I never really knew where it was headed. Even if I did have a wild guess, that actually bore some fruit, and that does not happen very often. I appreciated the commentary about conspiracy theories and the internet and the healthcare industry and corporate business. And the performance is very good also. It may not work for everyone. It did work for me. So feel free to leave a comment or suggestion down below here. What's the best thing you've seen so far in 2026? You can feel free to share that with us. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Subscribing is free. Also free is we are on Letterboxd under the Kazdoy Closet. And there's a link down below that'll take you right there. And you can see what else we're watching, or probably the stuff we talked about here and other things. Also, that's free too. What is not free is my ebook is available. It is True Tales from the Teacher Trenches, the ups and downs from 32 years of teaching. It's for your Kindle. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's part of your subscription at no extra charge. Otherwise, it's at Amazon.com for $1.99. And you can use a free Kindle app on any device of your choice if you don't have a Kindle. So, I hope you like this episode. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.